All right, guys, we just wrapped up the first Dune Circuit tournament of 2026. I'm joined by All Cash, Beach Cat, Johnny Drama, Keep Feeding, and TMB and Wyvern. And this video is going to serve as the capstone, like the final video in the Learn Dune Spice Wars series. The only Dune Spice Wars guide you're going to need to be a high level Dune player, I promise. I'm rocking with some of the best players in the game right now. We have tournament winners, we've got moderators, we've got people that have been around since like the start of the game. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna run around some topics to discuss Dune Spice Wars, which is kind of like a cult classic at this point. So I'm gonna introduce the topics. I've got like 7 topics here, and then I'm gonna pass the horn to our round table here, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna give you like the lowdown on everything Dune Spice Wars, what makes this game great, what makes this game terrible, and everything in between. So the first the first topic is Dune Spice Wars eras, and I think John is probably the best person to comment on this because John's been around before all of us. He was in the beta, and he's seen it all. So uh, I think John, like, just like speak to us about like the evolution of the game from when it first came out to how it is today in the so-called like product complete stage of the game.
Man, I mean, that's a big question. There's a lot to keep straight in there, but I mean, when the game first came out, as far as I remember it, it was might as well have been called like Dune Fuel Cell Wars, because fuel cells were pretty much running ecos with the way that the I guess now geothermal condensers tech works. Back then, it was giving you way more money, and so like everybody was fighting over fuel cell regions for the sake of their eco. Um, I mean, the combat system was completely different. Right? Armor shred system where it wasn't that you would do as much damage to the person as like your DPS has over their armor. You basically had to take their armor off to then do damage to them, and that included main bases. So that was an electric because it was kind of like a main base killing meta, where you just show up
The good
with a bunch
times.
of like demolition units, and they would just shred off the armor, and the base would just die instantly, pretty much. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to describe. There was I mean, obviously the everyone. I think most of you guys were here for the research center, like the hedge spike meta.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh, the hedge spike
where
meta.
basically it basically just it didn't change the game that much, other than like it just advanced the point at which you had to be super conscious of somebody about to win on hedge. So instead of like 26k, 27k being like the danger zone, it was like 24k, 25k because they could just build a research center. They would get all that retroactive hedge from their own territory applied. And that was like a 2k spike for certain factions. Obviously, like Carino didn't get that much because they didn't have that much territory. Whatever. I don't know. What else do you want me to say? Like
That's good.
it's hard to. I don't know. Like the game has
Yeah,
changed a whole lot. Like from the combat system to the way eco works to I don't know
like
to unit meta to like
different units went from
timings
being
to
OP. Like we had a flyer era, we had a merc meta
oh yeah.
where
There
you could
was
just
a and there
build a
was
whole
a
army of mercenaries, and that would be better than any
yeah
standing army in the game.
Hargs used to run 65 CP as stealth probes that would explode.
Yeah.
On the yeah, you could just wipe out an entire blob with those.
Yeah, and then
Um,
and then they introduced the Landsrat pause, which is like probably
oh God,
the most
yeah.
controversial introduction into the game because
I
at
didn't
that
like
point
it. I
I didn't
didn't
like
like
it
the
either.
change personally.
I didn't like it
I
because
mean,
the game went from
obviously, we've all
4x to
gotten used to it.
RTS. I mean,
Um,
from RTS to 4x, like heavy 4x. Like
yeah,
before, I think it leaned more into RTS, and now it's super heavy 4x. And
yeah.
who was around before the? Has anybody played the game before the Landsrat pause in here?
Yeah, I did.
Sounds awesome. I wish I had, to be
I think
honest with you.
TMB was around, I believe.
I was, yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
But
remember
not
how that
knowing what I
affected?
was playing.
Do you remember how that affected like the overall game? And what did you think of that
It
change?
definitely made it slower, like a lot
It
slower.
slowed
I
it down. Like
remember.
people like are macroing during these pauses. So it's like don't
Yeah,
get that twisted. People are absolutely doing that. They're queuing up stuff. They're doing like you obviously it's the game is paused, but you can still like queue stuff up. You can like start a building. You can you can do all that sort of stuff. So it's yeah, it definitely changed the way the game plays.
I remember
Yeah.
I
Go ahead.
did a little pause playing public games then because just a lot of people griefed the initial timer on the Landsred console. I think it was by default the long one, and there wasn't a fast one. And people just dragged it out for as long as possible. So I just didn't feel like playing for, like, I don't know, 2 months before they implemented the fast Landsred.
Yeah, and
Uh,
they actually had to patch that. I think they had to add the short Landsrad timer because everybody
Yeah, they
would just
did.
be
They
sitting
added it
around
later.
doing nothing during the Landsrad pause. So then
yeah.
the Heroes patch came out, and was that when they introduced Vernius, or was that ECAS?
Yes.
That was
No, that
Vernius,
was
right?
Vernius.
So that Vernius was the last DLC introduced into the game, and when Vernius first came out, they were kind of broken. Then they nerfed them, and then they became like kind of pretty decent right now. When Vernius first came out, the resonance drones were a little overtuned, so it was really easy to do a lot of AOE damage to
It
the
was.
armies.
It wasn't even over. I think there was unintended stuff going on with the resonance drones
Yeah.
that made them absolutely like devastating.
Yeah, and so that goes into the next topic with some of the developmental issues that came along with the game, like skirmisher damage being uncapped, where you could just run around with like 4 or 5 skirmishers destroying everything because there's no cap on the 10% damage. Um, a lot of like poor development.
Or the remember the bass drop on a masterpiece would just crash the game or
That,
something like that.
yeah.
What was it? It would just explode
Yeah.
the bass and then the game would crash. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So, that was
Like,
electric.
if any of the devs ever watch this video, I think like, I don't think they leaned into the hardcore community enough, which is kind of a shame because I think like some of the more refined titles that come out in any genre will lean in more into some of the hardcore players that know the game. I frankly think we know the game a little bit better than the developers. Um, just
I
because
mean, to their credit, they left it in like a very playable, reasonable place, I think. But yeah, it
Yeah,
took a while
yeah, the
to get
product
there, and
complete.
obviously,
We'll get
yeah,
there, and then so like then we're gonna get into like the history of the competitive scene, which started out in the official Dune Spice Wars Discord with PM Sag, who's a legend. He organized like the Dune monthly tournaments, whose videos you can still find on YouTube somewhere, and that was an interesting time because we didn't have spectator mode. So when
so the
yeah,
Discord.
yeah.
That's such
Spectator
a
mode is
crazy
like a whole
setup, yeah.
topic in and of itself. But if you guys remember, like when the Dune monthly tournaments came out, they were really hard to win because they ran on a ticket system, and you had to win like 6 matches just to make it to the finals. And then the player with the highest amount of tickets the players with the highest amount of tickets ended up playing in the finals, and those were usually pretty good games. Somehow, sometimes a few players snuck in there that really shouldn't have been in there. Maybe they got some lax matches in their
You
first
talking
couple of
about me,
rounds.
dude?
Nah, I'd never say that. I'd never say that about you,
No, I
Johnny.
did, I did, I did, I did qualify for the finals of one of the Doom monthlies, and I remember I rushed Gov and I got just absolutely erased as ECAS. I just got absolutely crunched by 3 people in the lobby, and I was out early, which worked out because I think I had something to do.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was a special time because
Yeah.
you can see what happens when like a game has like an organic following because people really love the product, so they would find a way to make it work. I mean, you have to have dedication to have 4 people come into the Discord, stream the Discord, and then you have the commentators and the casters stream the Discord streams, and you can't really see like the big picture of what's going on until spectator mode was introduced. Beach, were you around before spectator mode or no?
No, I came around the just after the Heroes update.
Okay, so that was after spectator mode was out, right?
Yeah.
I think so. I've never known
Yeah.
the game
So,
without
yeah.
it.
Yeah, not too
Yeah.
many balance changes happened after that. They fine-tuned a couple of things, and now we ended up in the product complete phase, which is where we are now. So I'm just gonna pass it around the horn as far as like the overall meta and the status of the game. Like, what do you guys think of the final product? We can go with Beach and then John, Feeding, TNB, All Cash. You guys can all chime in after the other person's done.
I mean, I think the game is, I don't know, a work of art in the current state that it is. Like, I think a lot of people are gonna disagree with me, but I just think like, the game is what it is. There's not that many bugs, and just I love the FFA format, and I love the these end game puzzles. I think more than anything else I found in any video game. Like there's not really any other RTS 4X that's kind of the same. And I think, people are gonna ask for things, they're gonna ask for a tag move, like yeah, but I just think, appreciating the game as it is right now is gonna lead to, everyone being happier than, hoping for new features that are never gonna come.
Yeah, you tapped into something else that I want to talk about, which is the FFA game mode and the modding attempts. But I think before we get to those things, I just want to hear what other people are thinking about, like the final product here. Like TMB, John, Feeding. Why don't you guys, in that order, just let us know like what you guys are thinking about this.
Well, as a Fremen main who has, I think, probably 600 hours on just playing Fremen, uh, my view is definitely biased from a Fremen player standpoint. I played every faction, I understand every faction. I don't say mastered every faction, but I do understand every faction to a, I would say, medium to high experience level. Uh, and yeah, the game is definitely a work of art as it is. I agree with a lot of points that Beach said. I would say there are some tweaks that could be done with some factions to make them feel better to play. Not stronger, but to make them feel better. For example, Vernius Fremen, because these factions just hit a roadblock after which like they just don't have any agency in the game if they didn't play their window of opportunity right, which is a design choice, but it does feel bad that for the player who messes up. And some other factions like Corino or Trades don't have that kind of this is it buddy moments, you know. Um, but yeah, overall I think the game is beautiful as it is. Most of the the like most games at a certain level just become map gen and how you play the map, not even the factions themselves, because you just maneuver around the decks and whatever you build in the bases or the villages. So there's always some sort of counterplay to everything, with some sacrifices and gambles, and I find that really, really inspirational, and like that there's potential for everything every time you hop into a game.
Nice. Hey, Feeding, you have a unique. Johnny, we'll get you in next. Feeding, you have a unique perspective because you're a grandmaster StarCraft player. You're very good at Age of Empires, and you're coming into this kind of game, which I don't think requires as much mechanical talent as it does like think talents, political talents, and understanding map awareness. What do you think about this game in terms of how it compares to some of the more mainstream RTS titles and just your overall vibe on Dune Spice Wars?
If you want to compare it, let's say to StarCraft or any other games, like it's the only issue with this game for me personally is that I'm coming from a different, let's say, like I never played such a 4X games where it's an FFA, and in order to play this game optimally, you need to to fuck with people and to be trained to manipulate and to politic a lot, right? Like this and the map gen are most probably 70% of your winning conditions, basically, because the map gen and the politic in this game are like much more important than how you're gonna fight or how you're gonna build your base. Like how you're gonna build your base in fighting, it's very easy to win. The other issue is that with such a small community, you cannot really play the FFA mode optimally and to right to manipulate, betray, and lie to people, right? Because it's gonna lead to bad blood in general. That's like if the community was a bit better and you know that you're not gonna see this player again like in 2 fucking months, yeah, I guess, but yeah, that's my take, and that's what I don't dislike. But you know me, I never do the political part basically.
Yeah, the FFA game mode. That's the second to last topic. John, you got anything to add to what these guys are saying about the overall take on Dune Spice Wars?
I mean, not a ton. I just checked. And it looks like 2.5K hours. After that, I will say, like, the state of the game currently is probably the best in terms of like replayability that I think they could have left it in. Which obviously I don't know. Some people might still be holding out hope that they somehow return to it. I don't think that's very likely. I think they're very
Gonna
serious when
happen,
they say
dude.
it's. Well, I think they're very serious when they say it's done in that sense. So I agree with some of the early points. I think it's a work of art in how unique it is. I don't think there's any game that's really quite like it. To your point, it really doesn't require. It's not the most responsive pure RTS game out there. Like you don't have to be a micro god to be good at the game in certain ways. Um, Beyond that, I think I guess it's not its downfall, but at least for me specifically, because of the fact that it's done and nothing else is coming out. And I think Feeding probably kind of feels this way as well, even though he's newer, he's put in a lot of time. Is that there's really very little left to explore. There's really probably nothing left to explore for people that have played this game
I
enough.
disagree.
There's no new. Beach Cat disagrees. That's fine. As somebody who's put 2.5k hours in, there's nothing I haven't seen somebody do. There's no strategy I haven't seen somebody attempt. And that for me, that's why it's hard to keep playing it. But that doesn't mean that I won't revisit it at times and play. But yeah, that's my summation.
Wyvern,
I
you
mean, I
want
just
Beach? You want to rebut him, and then Wyvern can throw his 2 cents in too.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I just learned something new like every day playing this game. Like today, for example, when we were doing our warm up, and I was playing against TNB's Hark Assassination, and he ran a stealthed Cerberus in to tank the missile batteries so he could get his assassin in. Like I'd never seen that before.
That's
That
meta,
was
bud.
new for me. Yeah. I know, and like, even when it's not things like that, like that stuff just comes from like playing the game
Yeah,
a
no,
lot
I
with
get
really
you.
good
Yeah.
players. Like, I've been reading through the game files. I probably know more mathematically about how the game works than anyone else, and like I think I'm the only person to really have done that for gameplay optimization purposes. And I just think that, there's always something new to learn. And as long as I have that mindset, I'm gonna keep enjoying the game.
Yeah, as long as you're having fun. I think the game has high, just because there's no new real strategies to do, I don't think the game has like less replayability, because as with any multiplayer game, like in Counter-Strike and in League of Legends, like you kind of already know what's going to happen, but it's on you to execute and try to get your win. Like Wyvern, like do you think this game has high replayability? Are you still enjoying it after playing it for, several months to a year, over a year at this point?
Is that a general question or
Just your take, man.
Oh, 100%. I mean, this
He
this
loves this game.
game, it's crazy because my buddy mentioned this game being out on the market 2.5 years ago, or I guess kind of coming up on 3 years now. And initially when I first opened it up, I was like, oh my God, there's so many things on the screen. What is happening with everything? But I liked the look. And then that's another thing that I think some people haven't mentioned is that the Dune universe is got a very unique aesthetic. And so if you are into anything that looks like this, I mean, it's gonna scratch that itch for you. And the game itself is not your typical RTS. It's very much like the digital version of like you and your buddies sitting around, a board game together and trying to talk to each other and yeah, and manipulate, politic, and lie and just screw each other over so that you can win. Um, I would say this game is best played when all four players have a very high level of maturity and they know that there's going to be manipulation. They know there's going to be, some sneaky lying here and there, and you don't, rage target someone or throw your own win con just to get back at somebody. So, because that can be Dune at its worst. Um, but Dune at its best is like some of the most, oh my God, I can't believe you just did that kind of moments. And I've seen them, I've done them, and the game itself, if you really take the time to learn it and to perfect it, uh, I mean it just lends so many hours of gameplay, and it never gets boring. It never gets boring. I have found, at least not for me. I've played all 7 factions. I only main a few, but there's always something new to learn, and there's always a new strategy. They're gonna
Yeah,
update this game at some
I
point. I
just
know it.
want to buddy, but on this topic, like at some point, it's at any point in the game, it's obvious what needs to be done and who needs to be stopped and who is ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
I
it's
mean, I
it,
don't think it was in that game we just played.
Oh, in that game, that was totally a steal, dude. But you see, but then you get games like that, right? Where it's like I said, I can't believe he just did that, right? Like he didn't even bother stopping the assassination. He was just like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna go for it, and if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. He Hail Married it, and it worked. And so that kind of stuff, yeah, is like Dune at its best. And if you want more straight RTS style, play 2 vs 2. I mean, there's so many. There's a bunch of comps and team synergy, tech tree mechanics that you can work out with your buddy, and so that's a whole nother flavor too. It's not just FFA, even though that is the main style of the game.
Well, okay, great points. Going into FFA as the primary game mode, I just want to throw my 2 cents on this, and then whoever wants to chime in, they can chime in. FFA is wonderful for all the things that everybody just said, but FFA is also a nightmare. And if you guys don't know, free for all, that's what FFA stands for. Where in this game, the way that most matches are played in this game are not team matches, although we do run 2v2 events, and I think they are a lot of fun. I think that most players gravitate to the FFA aspect of the game. Um, you do have situations that can breed bad. This game is notorious, and what Wyvern said about the level of maturity that I certainly don't have as a very competitive person. Um, it just does breed a certain sense of bad blood, especially when like there's kind of like a unanimous consent that one person is doing something that is gonna take away from the fullest expression of the game in which you're playing, and then it becomes a little bit toxic in that respect, and maybe that person saw it differently and they just don't understand. But then like people get reputations, and things happen in such a small community where FFA as a primary game mode, I think, is a choice for sure. It is a lot of fun. Like that last final game that we had, that was, I think, one of the highest expressions we could have of FFA, where it shines and everybody's having a good time and nobody can really say anything negative about the game, even though there was some pissing and moaning in that game, as per every Dune game. There's going to be some of that. But with FFA as a primary game mode, I don't know if that was like the best choice for enshrining a larger player base, but it's what we got. So that kind of also lends to the uniqueness of the experience you're gonna have when you play this game. Just be ready for some salt, man. And there was some voice channels back in the day on some of these other servers where they used to call them Dune moments. And yeah, there's usually a Dune moment more often than not in a lot of games. So just be ready for that. If you guys want to chime in on the modding on the FFA game mode, I have 2 more short topics, and then we can wrap this up because it's been going on quite a while. And I want the last word from everybody. Everybody in here can chime in. I'll open it up to every player in here in the voice chat, including some of the people that haven't been chiming in if they want to, on what their final verdict is for the game. But anybody else want to chime in on FFA before we go on to the next topic?
what do
This
you
is one
think,
of the
Rokesh?
most unique
I want to hear
experiences you'll
Rokesh.
ever play.
I don't know, I'm kind of enjoying FFA, but in terms of Dune, it's kind of slow. Because at a certain point, everybody's contesting their own win con, but if it's a good lobby, it's a stalemate, most probably for like 2 months. Nobody's gonna attack the leader because nobody's in the lead. There's a situation that happens and game becomes pretty boring sometimes.
Well, I'll tell you what, that does happen, but then like, see, for me, Dune is like, it's like a slow burn, dude, and then it crescendos, and then when the crescendo comes, it is a very very uh what's the word, like it's an experience, you know what I mean? Like in that last game, my heart was pounding because I was either gonna get all the glory or be the total goat, not the greatest of all time, but like the bad goat, and You know, and like in that
Only
situation,
only two positive options for the end of that game.
yeah, no, because that's it. There's only one
No,
winner.
I know.
There's only
Yeah,
one
no, I know.
winner. So
Yes.
when you only have one, and there's no scoring system, there's no ranking system, there's no elo in this game, there's none of that, right? So the person that wins 2 hours, like, yeah, you could have had a good time, but just only know that there was only one winner, and it's not like a situation where if you're a competitive person and you're playing this game competitively, you're either gonna feel like, oh, I'm the man, or like, oh god, that sucked, like, why do I even play this game? So just a heads up on FFA, it's a double-edged sword. It can be great, it can be terrible. And then there was a modding community attempt that kind of splintered off from the competitive community. I wasn't keeping up too much with them. I know they ran into some issues with connectivity and peer-to-peer issues. But as far as like the modding attempts go, I think TNB and Beachcat, you guys were the most active in that community. Can you give some words to the viewers on
I
you know,
mean,
if
they're
it's
still
worth?
cooking up House Moritani, you know?
Okay, is that like serious?
Yeah.
It's in the testing stage.
I mean, it's not ever gonna be really playable between people who are in different countries, I think, unless something changes with the servers, just because of the way peer-to-peer is. But or just at least between people in different countries with bad Wi-Fi. But they're still cooking.
TNB.
I mean, it's not even playable on the same server in the same country because just the way the code is written, it just starts lagging at like month 5 because
Yeah.
I forgot the exact reason.
It's
Oh,
got
the units
the
not
units stay
yeah
behind. Yeah.
staying in
It's
the
basically like what's it called? Trash handling, garbage handling.
yes.
I don't know,
yes.
like the code doesn't um, like group the dead units and the alive units into separate groups, so you just issue commands to all
You can
dead
see
units
it in
as well,
spectate
basically.
too sometimes if you're watching in a
Yeah.
trades with a bunch of drones, like, or some shit like that.
Yeah, so it just starts lagging in peer-to-peer, either way from month 5, which is the major issue, really. But yeah, they are still cooking up. Like Minx is still doing the unique faction thing because the main quest was basically a success. It speeds up the game as it should. They tried to fix the peer-to-peer with no real like achievements. So they just switched to like actually creating content for it and then making something for what we have and what we can work with. But
Yeah,
for
it's a shame.
example, yeah,
It's
the
it's a
Peter,
real shame that you can't
yeah,
actually experience the game without lag. I,
yeah,
I don't know if people really liked some of the mod changes. Some people didn't, but I mean it's kind of cool to see. Again, it's just symptoms of an organic community where they like a product and they just run with what they got and try to improve upon something that was great. And it just shows you that the product is like it's a good product. It just I don't think they ever marketed it well. I just think a lot of things could have been different, but we got what we got. So the final verdict is up. I'm gonna save myself for last. We can just go down the row all cash. Like if you were to rate this game, would you play it? Would you buy it? Like what do you think? And then we'll go down the row here.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely gonna buy it and play it for like I have 600 hours and that's enough for
I think all of us got our money's
game.
worth. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Oh, 100%.
yeah,
Am
100%.
I allowed to say that I didn't even pay for it?
Yeah, whatever.
I didn't have to buy
They
it.
definitely
I
did.
just got invited. Who was it? It was Kilpo, this guy who was around back in the day. It was like, hey, do you want to be in the beta? He was streaming the game. I was like, sure.
Nice.
And then I got the game for free to
Yeah.
include the DLC.
So
and whatnot.
after you give your final verdict, give the game a score, like from an A to F scale. Just give the game a score. So all cash, you want to finish your thought and then give it a score?
Yeah, 8 out of 10. 2 points off because game is not updating, and for me, playing a competitive game without balance changes like constantly every month or so, it's kind of boring. It takes away a lot of good from the game, but still, it's insanely good game for vibes, for gameplay, for unique mechanics. It's just a unique product. There's no game like Dune, and that's the problem we ran while searching for next game for Socrates.
Right. Yeah. Beach.
think there's nothing like it. I don't know. It's the most fun game I've ever played. It's like nothing else I've ever played.
Wow.
There's so many ways to be good at it. Like,
The
I don't
most
know.
fun game
There,
you've ever played.
I think there's something for everyone in this game, and it's obviously dead, but and I don't know. I can't even rate it. Like, it's just not comparable to other games. I don't know.
All right. Chala, are you here? Do you want to add anything? Or Hellhole? Chala?
Yeah, sure. What was the question?
What do you think of Dune? Give it a score. A to F.
Give it a
Or
score.
one out of 10.
Yeah, sure. I don't like 9 out of 10, maybe. It's a really good game. Like the worst part is that the the only thing that the community is dead, and the games are hosted, and the start from hosting to starting the game is really slow. That's the only point. And thing that Beach Cat or Cash mentioned, that the since it's a competitive game, you need not daily, but like monthly patches, or the meta will be fucking stale after a time. So you basically need that, and that is not non-existent. That's why I got some scores out of it. I mean, otherwise, it would be a 10 out of 10 for me
Right on.
because it's fucking great.
Right on. Johnny?
No, I'm right there with them. I think in a vacuum, I think it's 10 out of 10, but for pretty much all the reasons that have already been discussed, the fact that it can take hours to get a game, like, or a good game, I should say, that there's no sort of balance patch. Like, I'm not even saying DLC, but that the fact that they're not doing anything to it kind of, for its longevity, it's kind of hard to rate it 10 out of 10. But yeah, in a vacuum, if you just were like, in an ideal world, if they were still updating it, I think I think it's a 10 out of 10 game. I mean, I can't say anything else after how much time I spent playing it.
Feeding?
Uh, no, the game is good. I can't really rate it because, objectively speaking, it's like it's very interesting to me. But to most of the people, most probably it won like 6 or 7. It really depends on which aspects attract you of the game, like whether it's gonna be the politics, whether something else. But the big issue is that the learning curve of the game, like it's not beginner friendly, and it's not. That's why it's not surprising that you don't have many players. Like if you pick up the game from nothing, like it's gonna feel like a complete chaos to you.
Wyvern?
Um, it's definitely one of the most original, creative, and unique games that I think has been made in like the last decade, I would say, as far as strategy games go, for me. I've never played a game quite like Dune Spice Wars. Um, and I think for a rating, I'll give it a 9.5 out of 10. The only things that are taking away from it are, of course, the smaller community and the obviously lack of updates now. But the cool thing about this game is that as long as you have a sense of what you're doing, right, and you're not just day one, you always have a chance to win. That's the cool thing. You don't have to be a pro to win this game. You really don't. You just have to be convincing enough and put yourself in a position to where you look like you're not a problem. And if you can do that, you could totally win a game that you had no business winning, right? Like you made multiple misplays and you still came out on top. So definitely a game for everyone in a sense. There's 7 different factions, all with their own unique aesthetic and gameplay style. So it'd be hard to find something that that isn't for you. And the only other thing I'll say is that yeah, the beginner curve, the tutorials are not the best. So definitely look at Cream's YouTube channel. You got some other people around in the community who certainly put their time in to help newbies learn the game. Check them out, and your Dune experience will be so much more fun. Just don't expect to get competitive. Just remember it is a game at the end of the day, and FFA is FFA is FFA. So I got nothing else to say. 9.5 out of 10 from me.
Nice. TMB? If you're still there.
What can I say that wasn't said already?
Give it to us raw, brother.
2 out of 10.
Like one.
Mapgen.
No, okay. Mapgen out of 10.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I always distinguish two kinds of RTS or strategy players in the PvE and the PvP, because you just cannot replicate a real human being playing an RTS game. The AI will, well, maybe once we'll reach that point, but I don't know one single game that is an RTS where the AI actually did pose a challenge, apart from when it cheated and just had shit ton of resources. This game is no different. The AI does not understand the game at all and does not know what to do. So from that standpoint, if you're a PvE player, I would definitely not recommend it. So for PvE, I would give the game a very solid 2 out of 10, because the conquest can be fun, but I find it tedious. But for PvP, if you're dedicated and you have time to kill and you don't mind like being beaten down and then just learning from that, it's definitely a 9 out of 10 and worth being like worth investing time into. You just need patience and dedication to learn the game, but in the end it will pay off. And I would say there's like 1,000 hours you can kill into the game before it becomes repetitive, like it did for me. I think after a certain skill level, if everybody is on the same skill level and just master the games become samey. The map gen is the only real variable that can change this, and some games just feel like you are replaying the same games you have before, without any like input from you that could have changed the outcome. But yeah, a 9 out of 10 game definitely, and you will enjoy every hour you spend up until you actually master the game. After that, it is your choice how you play.
Jolty, do you want to add anything before I take us home?
Yeah, that's a 9 of the 10 game, and I think it's a really unique game also, because if you start a game, you have a tactic, but then after the map gen, you have to play this map and against these people in the lobby, and that's why it's a really interesting game. And compare the StarCraft, for example, Dort, you have some tactics, but this game you can win without really good micro, and so many ways you can win the game. For example, the carry do once with controller, because the mouse battery was empty, and that's why this game is unique, and I think that's a really good game.
Right on. What do you give it out of 10?
9 to 10 or 10 to 10.
1 out of 10. No, so you gave it a 9?
9 out of 10.
All right,
9,
so
9 or 10 out of 10.
so let me give
9
you
or 10. Yeah.
9 or 10. Okay, in no right world can I give this game anywhere in the 9s. I think this game is a solid 7.9 or an 8.1. I think you're going to get a lot of replayability out of this game if you can overcome the learning curve, which now that there's some content out for the game, you can find it all over the place on Twitch, YouTube, me, Davok, TNB. People out there have made content for this game. I think that if you learn it and you can play it at its highest expression, you will get a lot of enjoyment out of the game. It is a game where you don't have to be super mechanically talented because it's more of a thinking. It's like somebody said, it's kind of like a live action board game, which is great. Um, but when you play board games, when you're playing Monopoly, it's the same streets each time. It's just depending on like how you land on them when you roll the dice. So, but that doesn't mean that people don't play Monopoly over and over and over again. I think you're definitely going to get your money's worth. If you like a community type of vibe, you can always join us for these events and tournaments that I think we'll be doing as long as we people want to participate in them. So the game is good. Just watch out for some of the bad blood that FFA can bring. Just try to understand that a lot of people are always trying to like sneak their way into a win because it's not a game where you need to be so mechanically talented as much as like a game where like you just have to understand the overall situation. And once you understand the overall situation, you try to manipulate the situation into your favor by pinning people against each other, by trying to sneak yourself into a victory. Yeah, I mean it's fun. It's fun. At some point though, for me personally, I did get tired of the constant like backstabbing and the chicanery and skullduggery. I think that does wear thin and it gets old. And finally, like what I want to say is like a lot of people will just play this game. They'll find like one or two factions that they think they can execute at the highest level and they'll stick to that. And I really think that is not the best way to play this game because it's so much better if you play all seven, understand all seven. Like we're coming from like we've been playing a lot of Age of Empires 4. Sorry guys, I don't want to go on a long tirade, but I really will like want to like really get this out. We're coming from Age of Empires 4 where there's like 17 or I don't know how many civilizations right now, and it's so easy in Dune Spice Wars to learn everything because the tech tree is generally mostly like 90% the same for each faction. The units and like the army upgrades, they don't require so much variability. You're only changing maybe one or two armory upgrades. Like you find your set of armory upgrades that you like for your armies, and you basically like, stick to that the whole game. There isn't that much to learn. So if you figure out like the basic tech tree orders, how you want to approach the map, and you play all seven factions and you know kind of like what each faction's strength and weakness is, you can play this game at a high level and you can get a lot of enjoyment out of it. If you're going to just be a scrub, stick to your corner and play whatever you think you're good at every time, and then you're going to try to like weasel each lobby into letting you win because you're good at like talking smack or you're good at like I don't know, like pretending like you're not winning or gaslighting, then that's for me where I started to grow irritated with the game after seeing that not everybody wants to play the game at the highest expression they can, and they just want to like do the same thing over and over again and then talk a bunch of crap afterwards like they actually like master this game. I don't think they have mastered this game. I just think they're just like average players who just can do one thing well, and then like if you throw them into a blender and then you pick out like a piece each time, like once in a while their number will hit and then they'll be good. But like can they consistently do the things that this game asks them to do to try to get a better than 25% win rate? That's the question you have to ask yourself if you're a competitive player. If you like competitive games, there is no ranking system, so you are really like just going up against you versus the community. So this game to me, 8.1, solid game, endless hours of enjoyability, great community. I think we can leave it there, man. A shout out to Shiro. Like I really feel like Shiro made a passion project with this game. There was no big marketing push, which I think is also kind of a problem with the small player base. They kind of just synergized it with some of the Dune releases, and then like whenever Dune released, if you go on the Steam charts, you can see that the numbers picked up a little bit thanks to the hype that was just surrounding like overall Dune in general. But I mean, my interactions with Sylvain and some of the developers of this game, like dude, they put a lot of time and thought into this game, and the evolution of the game is actually amazing because to be able to get a Chome win back in the day, you just have to get 50,000 Solari, and now it's like an actual market where if you buy it, the price goes up. If you sell it, the price goes down. It depends on how much spice is being sold. That's a really cool dynamic. The Landsrad win condition, like getting governor, like getting the votes to go your way, playing a political game when knowing that everybody else is playing like maybe a chome and a hedge game. Very dynamic in terms of how you want to win the game. Most games will come down to hegemony. That's like the countdown, the timer for each game. Otherwise, each game would go on forever. Yeah, I mean, as far as like the RTS 4X hybrid experience, this game is peak. There's nothing that comes close to this game. But again, it's a very small niche market. I think the closest thing to it is also probably a Shiro title called Northgard. Unless you're playing like games like Solaris or like Civ, but those games take like 5 to 6 to 7 hours to complete. And this game, being at an average game time length of 2 hours, is also probably too long for your average player. But I think that's a compromise between like an RTS heavy game like AoE 4 and StarCraft 2, where you're going to be playing for 15, 30, 45 minutes to a clip, versus like Civ or Solaris, where you're going to be playing for like multiple sets of hours. This game finds a very nice sweet spot at like the 1.5, 2 hour mark. So I think a lot of people will appreciate that. I think I've spoken probably too long anyway. So that was it, guys. Thank you so much for watching the series. Thanks to all the community members that make this game really what it is. Because without the community, this game is really like, it's just another game. But the fact that you can build a community around this game is awesome. And we'll see you guys for the next event if you happen to join us in the Discord. And be well, take care, and I hope you guys enjoyed the guide.